This is the Town of Dayton's Board of Selectmen special meeting. We're going to go into executive session. Today is Monday, April 29th, 2024 at 6:00 p.m. in person and via Zoom, well, not Zoom today, at Old Town Hall, 1111 Somerset Avenue. This meeting is being recorded. The listing of matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Now, all items listed, in fact, may be discussed, and other items not listed may also be voted for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This is a call to order, please.
Mark Pacheco, present.
Nicole Mello, present.
And Peter Karen, present. We're going to go into Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Sections 21A3, to discuss the strategy with respect to collective bargaining and litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. The chair does declare. We are going to discuss Dayton offices for Local 306, Dayton firefighters Local 4332, and Dayton communications dispatch employees. And then we're going to return to open session.
Motion to enter executive session.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Recording. Okay, we just returned from executive session. Can everybody please rise for the pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll go right into the public input because
Yeah, we should be good.
this evening. Okay, we're going to go two public inputs, one now and one at the end of the meeting. And I understand, Mr. Moore, you have something to say as well. That's why you're here.
Well, you're going to go over the warrant articles, correct? You're
Yes.
One by one, so I'd like to.
You want to wait
At that time.
at that time? Okay. Mr. Hull, is that okay with you? No. Fine, okay. All right, then we're going to go right into old business. Review, discuss, and act. Fiscal year 2025 budget review, recommendations, and review of the warrant articles.
Yes, is it if I jump in, Mr.?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we do, this past Thursday night, we met with the finance committee, reviewed kind of where we were with the budget, the operational budget, identified at that point, due to the increases in overlay and also due to, the changes in the House budget, the House of Representatives budget relating to local aid, that our operational deficit went back up to $240,000 from the $201,000 that we were at a few weeks ago with the additional targeted cuts. The FinCom met, they did review and discussed at length the options that have been mentioned for the better part of the last month about the options that we have really to get to a balanced budget. They are hoping to meet and actually with the selectmen this Thursday night to try to come to a final consensus on that path forward. But in the process as well, they have identified, the chairman of the FinCom identified an additional $40,000 in additional cuts that actually gets back down to the having a deficit of around $201,000. That, just to be clear, that just really gets us to zero. We do, and as a town accountant may mention as well, that just ending at zero is frankly not good enough because during the recap process in November and December, when we have to finalize our tax rate, especially when it comes to different types of overlay issues, the DOR, we can have our overlay estimate, but when we go to do the recap, DOR basically comes up with their own overlay methodology, and so we have to be well over the positive, because if we're just at zero, DOR makes any adjustments, we have to be able to absorb that. So, and ideally we would, as we balance, get to a positive balance in our view between $20,000 and $50,000 just to have that room. That room is healthy and healthy to have anyways. But we do have, and we have just over 2 weeks at this point to finalize a warrant. So we do at this point have to, we would have budget recommendations from the Board of Selectmen that will get us really to a balanced budget to be able to present in the annual town meeting warrant. So like in the spreadsheet, like you will note that like as I reviewed my initial town administrator recommendations last month, we went back to the drawing board after that. The town accountant, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and I to try to envision additional cuts just to help us really balance because we're not balanced. And as I mentioned, the FinCom, like over and above that, has identified but hasn't actually voted yet to make like an additional $40,000 in cuts to help us get closer. But even with that, we still have a deficit of around $201,000 we need to close. And so we do have those same options to balance. We could try to make even more cuts, which they're becoming increasingly more challenging. And in my opinion, will have an increasingly more difficult impact on our service delivery. And we also, we know where we are with the BP debt. There's been discussion of a debt exclusion as well, planning for FY26. And I also know that there has been discussion about the use of free cash just to help balance FY25 as well. So I really just want to throw out all that out there to the board, and hopes of us being able to wrap up this process in the next ideally week and a half, so we have the ability to make any adjustments and finalize everything well before the deadline.
Thursday night and next Tuesday night's just a placeholder?
Sorry, all these dates are blending in right now.
Yep.
Okay, so the FinCom, we have to have the warrant posted by, I think, Monday, the 20th. So Friday, the 17th is really, actually Thursday, the 16th is really the drop dead date. So we're hoping that because we have the operational budget and then we have the warrant articles we also have to deal with. Ideally, we would get through and have a balanced operational budget first, because how we balance the operational budget, especially if we use free cash, that has an ability and it will impact what we're able to fund through capital as well. So one thing would affect the other there, but so if we could have the beginning of that discussion tonight. We are meeting jointly with the FinCom on Thursday night. Second, the Board of Selectmen has a regular meeting next Wednesday, the 8th. We do have we know the FinCom is meeting on the 9th as well. And if we need to, having Wednesday, the 15th as a finalization of anything else, just to make sure we meet that deadline. If that makes sense and answers your question.
Yes.
Okay.
I think on the calendar that Leanne sent out today was Tuesday, I thought, as a placeholder.
Yeah, we reserved.
Right.
So we wanted to make sure we reserved as much time and space as possible to give options. So next Tuesday could be another option that we have for either the Selectmen or the FinCom to meet. But we just wanted to block off basically as much as we could to make sure we had the space to work with both boards to get this whole process wrapped up.
Okay.
Tuesdays aren't ideal for me. Mondays,
No, I'm not.
Wednesdays, any other
Okay.
day but Tuesday,
Okay.
unless it's later, because I
Okay.
work till 7.
Sure.
So there's not gonna be any recommendations tonight.
Like in like in terms of the budget line items, yeah, like the board, like, I mean, like ideally, we would be, ideally, we would start going through those and have the board make those recommendations.
So the additional proposed budget targeted cuts are the ones from the finance committee from the other night.
No, the FinCom is not in there yet because typically they make their recommendations.
On the selectmen.
Yes. And so they've identified an additional $40,000 in total. But those aren't in here as of yet.
Do you want to go over each department at this point?
Yeah, like it's really up to the pleasure of the board. If the board, the board could, approve, get recommendation to include the additional proposed balance, the additional proposed targeted cuts, but then if there's, as a whole, I can then if there are any departmental line items you want to, I could go through in more detail, the board could, exempt them from the overall motion.
Okay.
I can deal with them
Times, I'm going stir crazy. You guys have any questions at this stage?
I would like, I wasn't at the FinCom meeting, so I'd like to go review the targeted cuts.
It's the,
Finance committees, that was really more of a discussion, just an open discussion.
Oh, okay.
They didn't make any recommendations, they didn't vote on anything, we were hoping that today's meeting, the selectmen would make their recommendations in the open column.
Okay.
And then when we meet with FinCom, they would make their actual recommendations.
I think we should go line by line, which is.
Whatever you
Budget
choose,
by budget.
whatever. Okay.
That's fine.
Start with town meeting. Salary checkers is pretty straightforward at this point. Moderator is 500.
I think the moderator should be flat.
It is.
He doesn't get $10 either.
I'm sorry, so as we go through them, do you want to make the recommendation for each department?
Sure. That's what,
Okay.
so we're saying before about just going to the
Okay, because
department.
then you just skip to moderator, so I wasn't
Okay.
sure for 3,800 for
Yeah.
Department 113.
Okay. The moderator is 500. Is everybody accepted with that?
I think we have to accept town meeting first, right? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
that's one department.
It's,
Oh, I thought she said just skip to moderator.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 113 town meeting as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? No, all those in favor. Sorry. Okay.
Oh, I don't know if I sorry.
um,
Okay, so
I have no comments on moderator.
No, me neither.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept Department 114 moderator in the amount of $500 to recommend that amount in the amount of $500.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen's and I.
So for selectmen, we have a departmental request, but it'll show up in the warrant as that we are recommending our salary. So I've had that feedback before. I think we should request it and not recommend it and let the FinCom decide if they want to recommend it or not. So that's just me. So I prefer we leave our recommendation off the warrant. That's just how I feel about that.
For our salary or for the whole department?
If we left it just off the salary lines, because that's the only thing I really had an issue with, so.
Oh, no, I agree.
Okay,
I'm sorry, can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
So the request that came through the Board of Selectmen, The salary for FY 25 is 52.2 weeks. So what you requested for the administrative assistant and the BOS assistant is slightly lower. So if you go over to the right to the other
Right.
two columns, it's
Mm.
a little bit higher to account for that one day that's in the middle of the week.
Okay.
Well, my only concern is the finance committee is looking for a recommendation from
So
selectmen. And I don't understand the reasoning for not recommending the whole budget.
So, just like for folks at town meeting, right, they look to us for our guidance.
Yeah.
And we benefit from the stipend. So we're advising the public for something that we directly benefit from. I just feel like it's not a lot of money, but we're still saying to the public, I'm asking for $5,000 and I recommend you give it to me. I just wish we kept it clean and say, I'm asking for $5,000 stipend and let the finance committee decide if they want to go for it or not.
I don't think we should mess it up. That's my only opinion.
But we'd still recommend the other lines in our budget. There's only two
Okay.
lines out of our budget. That's just how I feel.
Okay, is that a motion?
So I'll make a motion for the Board of Selectmen budget.
It seems too clunky.
The salary budgets, like in the expense budgets, are the only thing broken down in the warrant. Like it doesn't actually get into a line item by line item, and as a result, those two line items are part of a broader, more all-encompassing line for salaries. And I just don't know how we separate
Right.
those two lines within.
I understand the perception that you're making,
Yeah.
but
But that's your answer to anyone that has that concern, that we don't do that because of this reason.
But I don't
Right.
understand why, because it says right on the warrant on Article 4, we could simply just leave those lines blank. So Article 4 on the warrant shows every elected official's salary. We're elected officials,
Yeah.
so all I'm looking for is just for
Okay.
our
stipend
stipends.
section, that's why he's confused.
Yes, okay, so. All right, in terms of the operational budget, like everything will be the same. But then in the warrant article that deals with specifically for setting the salaries of elected official, we won't have a recommendation there.
That's all I'm looking for.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay,
So we are gonna recommend it and it still won't show up in the warrant like that?
All right.
Is that how I say it? I wanna get the motion right.
what I would recommend is you hold that comment specifically to when we talk about Article 4.
Okay,
For setting the salaries of elected officials.
okay.
Like I believe, and there's been a few iterations of the one already, but I believe Article 5 is the operational budget. And I would leave things unchanged for the purposes of the operational budget.
Yes, please.
So I'll make a motion to recommend for the Selectmen budget 122 as the town administrator recommends instead of the departmental request.
Second that.
motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter Karen's an aye. Town administrator's budget? No concerns.
There are differences between my initial recommendation, the additional targeted cuts.
So there's some in dues and subscriptions.
Yes, yes.
And can you just, because I wasn't here for the discussion, the ADA coordinator got moved.
Yes,
What was the reason for that again?
So the role of the town administrator would include the supervise, the oversight, of the ADA coordinator position. Rather, there's in the past, there's been some confusion about how the Commission on Disability interplayed with that. This has been proposed in hopes of really cleaning that up and streamlining those, other oversight, like in supervisory responsibility.
Perfect. Thank you.
Is there a motion for the town administrator's budget?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend the Department 124 Town Administrator as the Town Administrator recommended under additional targeted cuts.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter Karen's an aye. Finance Committee? What happened to the professional and technical line?
Okay.
Am I missing something?
Was that ever in there, Peter?
Finance Committee,
Yeah, they don't have one.
attorneys.
The FinCom would work through town council, but typically they,
I thought it was zoning board. I'm sorry.
no worries.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve Department 131 Finance Committee as the Town Administrator recommends.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter Karen's an aye. In reserve fund?
Just if I could, Mr. Chairman, like I do know this is one area the FinCom was looking at, bringing this down to $50,000, just based on our budget position.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Department 132 Reserve Funds as the Town Administrator recommends.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
Town accountant? And the assistant salary accountant, the hours got changed?
No, so it's separated now because I'm putting everyone's additional contractual stipends in a separate line. So she actually is making a little bit more hourly, so her hours did stay the same. And they have that, the contract was also negotiated. So that's why the 24 number is a little low, because the 24 number is not the accurate salary. Because we were not settled with the contracts before we did the budgeting.
And that's why for the rest, to close out FY '24, we're gonna need to draw against the salary reserve in the board, like in the Board of Selectmen's budget. So that's why that number is skewed low a little bit in FY '24.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend account 135 town account as the Town Administrator recommends.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter Karen's an aye. All right, Board of Assessors. I think we should deduct $10 from the chairman's salary. Give it to the moderator.
Give it to the moderator.
There a motion?
I'm sorry. So I talked about this at my first meeting about being on time, and we asked for, before I was on the board, but it was asked that all boards submit their budgets by February 1st. And I just believe in deadlines, so I just can't, I'm not gonna recommend any budget line that was late, so. They submitted their budget on February 5th, so it's just a principle I have. I'm gonna treat every department the same.
So I would like to make a motion to recommend Department 141, but Board of Assessors as, proposed by Town Administrator.
I'll step down and second that. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
No,
Peter Carrington, aye.
Mark, where did you get the dates? Do you have like a separate?
Right here.
Oh, okay, all right. I was like, I'm not seeing whatever he's seeing, but that's fine. Okay.
and I just want, Mr. Chairman, if I
Yeah,
can, just speak
absolutely.
on that for another second. I just feel like if we don't kind of make a point that about meeting the deadline, the Board of Selectmen's recommendation means something to the taxpayers. And I just feel the budget process has, it's the second year that I've seen the letter go out. It was clear that it had to be in by February 1st, and my day job, it's all about deadlines and meeting deadlines. So I know government doesn't always work that way, but it's really just, me, it's just letting the public know and the folks that go to town meeting that in our departments, for me to recommend a budget, it needs to be received on time, that's all.
Okay,
Can I speak to that?
sure.
I agree with you in your principles. You're right. I'd like to ask that you also take into consideration that the Board of Assessors was in quite a bad place this year during the time period. We were very short. I guarantee you that next year this won't happen again.
Thank you.
Okay, Department 145, Town Treasurer. Whenever you're ready.
We received their budget on February 6th, so I'll leave it to someone else to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend Department 145, Town Treasurer, as proposed by the Town Administrator.
Okay, Chairman will step down and second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
No,
Aye. Town Collector.
Everyone good? Can I make a motion?
Yep.
I would like to make a motion that we recommend Department 146, Town Collector, as proposed by the Town Administrator.
I'll step down and second it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
no,
Peter Carrington, aye. Motion passes. Town Council.
I'd like to make a motion to approve line 151 on Town Council as recommended by the Town Administrator.
Second that?
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Is 55,000 enough considering last year? At 63.
We've had, we've had some outlier issues to deal with. We really never know exactly what we're going to encounter during a year. In FY '24, we've also faced additional things that we never expected as well.
That's why it's 55 enough. And not that I want to add to the budget. I know we're already tight, but
I mean, like it could go either way. It could, one could argue that's why the reserve fund also exists. It also is why we would want to leave a holdback as well with free cash. But on the other hand, your point is well taken. Though we can never predict, we have been trending higher as well.
we're going to clean up that reserve fund
Quickly, yeah.
quickly.
So, going out, increasing to 60 or 65, that what the board, in my opinion, would have a completely rational and legitimate, ways and rationale to do that. So it's, we are a $28 million organization, so.
What about between now and November, though? We do have some time, it's special, right? So we need it.
Yeah,
We could, yeah, based on how we're trending then.
sure. Okay. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Well, all those in favor?
Aye.
Peters and I. You got time to sit through all this, or would you like us to take a break and
No, keep going.
data processing?
I like to have an additional targeted cut since my initial recommendation.
I'm ready if you guys are.
Could you just speak to the additional?
Oh, yeah, so we've been carrying a line for building permit software user fees to work to get a lot of our financial team departments up into Permanent Link as well. We've been continuing to build that out. And we now have reached a point where based on what is happening based on what's happening with the state as well, we were going to incorporate the Board of Health permits in there too. But they're based on the rollout of a statewide Board of Health permit system as well. We're kind of at a pause to see how the rollout of that technology happens before we see and are able to evaluate how it intersects with the further build out of our own system. So that's where we were able to reduce that line by $5,000.
Awesome.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion for the Board of Selectmen to recommend line 155 data processing as presented by the town administrator through the additional targeted cuts.
I'll second that.
Made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tax title foreclosure.
I'll
Straightforward.
make a motion that we accept Department 158 tax title foreclosure recommendation by the town administrator.
I have no second. Okay, motion made. I'll step down and second it. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Peters and I.
No.
Town clerk.
There was a $400 difference in this budget since it was initially proposed.
What went down?
C420 office supplies by $400.
Okay, I see it, thanks. So, are you entertaining a motion? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend line 161, Department 161, Town Clerk. And to make my motions clear, I'll say the whole amount, in the amount of $151,451.20.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peters and I. Elections. Your motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 162 elections in the amount of $42,505.10.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peters and I.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 163 registration in the amount of $600.
600?
600, it's,
8302.
in the amount of $8,302.
Okay.
That'd be scary.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter Karen's and I. Conservation Commission.
Mike, I see there was a decrease in subscriptions.
Yes, this was because the Conservation Commission has been asking would be the second year for funds for increased training opportunities for conservation members. They had that increased training in they have that those increased training opportunities in FY 24 as well. They've utilized it, but they have not utilized, and they're not trending to utilize $1,500 worth. So I propose that we bring that down to $1,000 there. And then like just above that in 5580, they do have an other supplies line that was initially proposed at 1,000, and I propose we bring that down to 600. And then there was a modification in professional and technical as well.
Motion on the floor.
So I was at the Conservation Commission meeting where they asked for additional supplies, like for boots and bug spray, and I thought Mr. Digits was moving for me. So what line was that?
That was actually in 5158 benefits and uniform boot allowance. Just one note there, we have been trying to create some alignment between like our 3 field employees that we have. So we've always had this basically a seesaw approach where with our 3 employees in town who do work in the field, we have had a tendency in prior years that where one of those employees would get nothing, like another would get a modest amount, and then we'd have another employee who would get even more than that. So we have tried to create some uniformity there, like although it's not exactly like a perfect formula, just in terms of the trying to have more equity there.
So there's enough for all the members to get a pair of boots if they need it eventually with that rotation, or is it just for
Employees.
employees?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought his request was for like the members to get it, right? Was it
No,
No.
he's talking about just for,
Just for professionals?
yeah.
Yes, Mr.
One of the things that I kind of don't agree is the fact that every department's request for boots is job specific. So to say that conservation's boots cost the same as the boots the building inspector needs is really difficult. What I had suggested so that you could see what they were requesting. In Taunton, they have to submit a requisition. I know in Taunton, we wanted a specific item. The decision makers saw the item with a description, what it cost, before they voted whether or not to go the line item, cost of the item. No, to say that conservation, $300 or $400, whatever number was agreed upon by, the Board of Selectmen and FinCom, does that really adequately provide the boots that she needs? And not having a requisition order to look at them so you can make a decision as it's exorbitant? Because do any of you know what she really needs and what's being presented is exorbitant for boots?
Jim Aggie buys 2 pairs a year for $300.
Yeah, like in that, Yeah, like in the two pairs of boots per year, like was really the at $150 each was really what we base it off. Like we do have an ability in talking with the town accountant, if we wanted to broaden that $300 line between all of our field employees to have it actually, and we can work on the language here to have it cover more than boots. Like we can do that as well. So if we have an employee like the conservation agent who is fine with one, so hypothetically, $150 pair of boots, but then within that $300 range, have the ability to buy bug spray or anything else within that range, we could do that as well.
So that's something we can work on in the future. So I think I've heard enough to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 171 Conservation Commission and the proposed additional cuts in the amount of $69,491.61.
Motion made in second. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second that.
Motion made in second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peters and I. Item Trails Committee. Motion on the floor.
Looks like according to this budget sheet I got, they did not submit a budget.
No, they did.
They did, and I believe it was like,
It's like, was it, yeah, like their budget usually comes, it's one of like the first ones in. January 29th.
Oh, okay.
make a motion that we accept the Department 174 Trails Committee recommendation of $800.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peters and I. Planning Board, 175.
I apologize to the Trails Committee. I was looking at the wrong.
They're on top of it, don't
They
Yeah.
are
mess
right
with
on
the
top
Trails
of it.
Committee.
I won't.
Motion on the floor for Planning Board.
I would like to make a motion to recommend Planning Board Department 175 in the amount of $63,366.94.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Peters and I. Board of Appeals, 176.
So professional and technical went down $2,500.
Yes, sir.
Just any,
It's the P and T in both the planning board and the zoning board covers unforeseen legal expenses. It is always as every legal budget, like there's always an unknown there, but based on trends, what we're anticipating and what like in the pipeline and what we anticipate not being in the pipeline, that's why we believe there's an ability to do that.
That's including battery storage this year.
Yeah, that is why we left the planning board line.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a motion on the floor, please.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 176 Board of Appeals in the amount of $38,371.82.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Peters and I. Agricultural Commission.
Yeah, we don't have anything from them, but we were able to reincorporate the Briggs Garden expenses into Parks and Rec's budget.
You talked to Mr. Arujo?
I haven't been able to follow up with him, and he hasn't followed up with me either.
Department 189. Motion on the floor.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 189 Development and Industrial Commission in the amount of $1,000.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Peters and I. 192.
Yeah, like this is like a budget we've also tried to use a very carefully crafted carefully crafted out scalpel with as well.
So I see, it looks like building repair, town office buildings, that went down.
Yeah, by $5,000.
$5,000. I noticed, I don't know how long it's been like that. I just noticed the old police station, the siding starting to rip off.
Okay. You can look at
You
that.
can see the insulation and the studs.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's been brought up or not, but I'd like to,
I don't disagree.
buildings like, that's just one thing I saw, just driving.
Yeah, no, we can follow up on that.
The last page. So, I'd like to leave the 5,000 in just if we can, stuff like that.
Yeah. I understand.
You want to increase it to 255,000?
So just, I would
Yeah.
take the town administrator's original.
Yes, yeah, at 255. Yep.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Then a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 192, Public Buildings and Properties in the amount of $255,140.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
aye. Thank you. Town reports?
I just had a question about town reports.
Mhm.
This is not anything, well, it's kind of budget, but is that something, so all towns do this, the
Yes.
book that we get? And is this like some law or what it,
It's
I just want to know where it
statutory.
stemmed from.
Yes, it's
Okay.
statutory responsibility.
I think I read too in the statute that it has to be approved, it has to be printed by a certain date before town meeting and available to the public for the budget to be approved. I think I read something like that. Does that make sense? For you to be able to vote on the budget? Yeah, so that's kind of cool,
Yeah, well,
Forces us to spend money to print it though.
Yeah.
well, yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, well, they could maybe help with this, but I guess not. Wishful thinking.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Department 195 town report in the amount of $2,500.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peterson, aye. Town reports we did. Police Department.
Police and communications were late, so I can't, I won't.
Okay.
No. Does anyone have any questions on that? Make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we recommend Department 210, Police Department, as written as additional proposed targeted cuts.
Motion made. Is there a second? Not hearing any, I'll split down and make it the second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. How late was it?
Just February 5th.
Okay. I think a lot of that has to do with turmoil in the department with no chief yet.
Stan.
But I'm not making excuses to them.
Like there was a proposed decrease in 5106.
I don't see that. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, there's a $20,000 decrease. We have an ability to rely on a grant that we have an ability to rely on a reoccurring grant to fund that, to be able to drop that expense for part-time dispatches down by $20,000.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember, the police chief was here telling us that to put money into office chairs, even though everybody had a new one, just in case they broke, but they all had guarantees. So
What are they doing to those office
I-
chairs?
I don't know.
All right, any questions?
Any comments?
I'll make a motion.
Your motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion that we recommend Department 215 Communications Department as written for additional proposed target cuts.
I'll step down and second it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Peters and I.
Oh, no.
Department.
Mike,
Yes,
there was a decrease in 5481.
yes, it was 54, 81. Yeah, that is based on our current year trends. Like, and we believe at this time we have an ability to reduce that by $2,500 based on current year trends.
Okay,
Obviously, especially with fire engine, if there's a large emergency response that, yeah, that can come back midway through FY 25 and we could have to deal with that, but it's one of just, we try to go by, especially with the fuels of zero-based budget, but also prior year trends as well, especially relating to fuel.
Think about prior year budgets with the fire department. He does a very good job of spending, controlling it. He also knows what he can spend and spends it. Which is what I mean is if he's budgeted 10,000, he's going to spend 10,000. If you notice, a lot of his expenses come towards the end of the budget where he realizes he has the money and to keep it coming the following year. It's just a trend that I've noticed for quite some time that he does that. Now, I'm not saying we should reduce it. I'm just thinking in the future, we should watch what his budget is and what gets spent. And I don't think it's because he does it to a T. I think it's because it's spent because he has it. And there is a couple other departments, well, one other department that I know does that for a fact. And I've been privy to the meetings where they talk about, well, this is what we got left to budget. Let's buy a roll of stamps instead of a book of stamps. And I hate to see that because it's money that gets tied up and money spent unnecessarily. But again, I'm not saying we should cut it, just making that out there. So is there a motion on the floor for fire department?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend line 220 fire department in the amount of $776,287.97.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Peters and I. Ambulance service.
No changes from,
There's a 3,000 in the additional targeted cuts in line 5240. There's a $3,000 difference.
thank you.
I'm sorry, what line, Mike?
5240 ambulance repairs and the ambulance equipment repairs and maintenance.
Just on prior year trends again.
And no, prior year trends were actually higher. They were actually over the 50%.
Can I explain?
It's but it's just, with equipment, repairs, it's again, it's just a chance item. It could be high, it could be low. So that's where that came from. Yeah, there's no, as I mentioned earlier, and as I've been mentioning, really the cuts we're trying to evaluate and look at, not easy. A lot of them are uncomfortable. This is just where we are trying to close a big structural budget gap.
So other than that one line, it looks like everything else the department requested
Yes,
was recommended.
yes.
So that's pretty good. And it's $3,000 and we do have a reserve fund and we do have a special, so we have resources. And everything else it looks like everything else was recommended, so are you entertaining a motion?
Okay,
I'd like
yes.
to make a motion to recommend line 231 ambulance service in the amount of $812,871.56.
I'll second that.
Motion made, seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 241, building inspection. A motion on the floor.
Sure. I would like to make a motion to recommend Department 241 building inspection in the amount of $184,670.32.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Gas inspection. There a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend line 242 gas inspection in the amount of $6,750.
Motion made and seconded. Oh, I'm sorry. Go.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Plumbing inspection.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend line 243 plumbing inspection in the amount of $7,750.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peters and I. Weights and measures.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend line 244 weights and measures in the amount of $1,500.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I've asked this before. What is weight in measures?
When you go to the gas station, like in like you
Oh.
the certification that that basically the mechanics that go into determining gas volume, like anything that measures in terms of a scale has to be certified every year.
Okay. I'll ask that again next year.
Electrical inspection.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 245 electrical inspection, in the amount of $20,000.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Animal control officer.
Professional and technical went down, just, it's like, we don't use that much of, it was based on prior year history, right? Okay.
How that, though, that line and the line item above it, they can be very unpredictable based on what is taken in, so we didn't wanna truly cut off a nose to spite our face there.
Right.
Oh, yeah, or a cat's face or a dog's face.
Fine.
No, that sounded bad. Okay, no mind.
There a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 292 animal control in the amount of $60,015.44.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Forestry.
It's an easy one. I'd like to make a motion to recommend 295 forestry in the amount of $275.83.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Emergency preparedness, pretty straightforward.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 299, emergency preparedness, in the amount of $4,500.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Education. Any motion on the floor? Hearing none.
I'll make a motion.
Oh.
No, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, we're in trouble.
No, it's just, this is a big budget.
Sure.
53%, but who's counting?
53%. Thank you. That's a lot. But I don't see any difference from, well, yeah, there's no, we have no difference from departmental requests on what the town recommends, because it is a assessment, so we have to really recommend an assessment. So with that said, I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 300 Education in the amount of $14,731,338.48.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Peters and I. Highways. The only cover supplies. Diesel fuel went down. Your motion made on the floor?
I'll make a motion to recommend Department 422 Highway in the amount of $782,951.86.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Peters and I. Snow and ice control. Your motion on the floor?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to recommend Department 423 Snow and Ice Control in the amount of $50,000.
I'll second.
Seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Titan Berkeley Bridge.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation for Department to 429 Dayton Berkeley Bridge, 1,600.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Peters and I. This is the last year for this. I know it's not here, but is this the last year for that?
No, it's all paid off.
It's all paid off as.
Yes,
No, and we have it, right?
yes,
Yeah.
as I know.
I know, one of the few things that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all paid off.
I remember your comment from last year.
So for off-duty police details, it looks like FY '22, we spent 8,000 and change. FY '23 was 3,000. Is there something coming down the road?
Main Street.
Main Street, that's a big deal. Okay,
Yes.
so that would make sense. Okay,
And yeah, like, I mean, like, and just, like, I don't want to reopen everything up, but because we left that alone, I'm sorry, we cut actually 4,000 from there, but we also left the highway department side alone as well in terms of details, so they have the ability, the superintendent does have the ability to use both lines to manage the Main Street project with police details. And we also, too, as we move forward in the costs, in the true cost estimate phase of that project too, like if we do have to true anything up in the future, we have an ability to do that then too.
awesome.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 432 Street Cleaning and Stormwater in the amount of $1 million.
Oh. Sorry, the line broke out.
Yes, thank you. That would be nice too. $247,206.65.
Sorry.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. control and disposal. Collection.
Can I just make one comment on this one?
Sure.
If you see the FY 25 department request for line 5294 CMAS at 150,000, that's the same that's being requested in FY 24. And then 2 lines down from that, the 105,000, line 5303 is the same amount from FY 24. It's the last year of the contract, and I did reach out to the Board of Health to get some updated figures so we can at least account for some type of increase and not just level funded, because we'll have to make the increase somewhere else if it's not in the operating budget. So I just wanted to point that out, that those aren't true numbers.
Thank you. That's important to know. That's a huge part of our budget,
Yeah.
just like we talked about at our last meeting, and
Sure.
we're up on Borges and CMAS, and that's definitely something that we need to keep in mind and plan for. And yeah, so thank you. That's good to know. We don't know where we're gonna stand with those contracts.
Did Board of Health respond?
Nope, it's been discussed verbally a few times, and then I sent out an email first thing this morning to the chairman and the department head, and I haven't heard back, and I checked it before I came.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
I would like to make a motion to recommend Department 433 waste collection and disposal in the amount of $783,600.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter's and I. Transfer station, which is new.
Does the solid waste committee work on this budget, or is it the Board of Health?
It's actually the highway superintendent, and then he brings it forward to solid waste as well.
Okay, so the solid waste committee looked at this?
Yes.
Okay,
Is there a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend line 435 transfer station and the amount of $103,562.49.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Peter's and I. Cemetery.
I was on the commission, so I'll
Sure.
set this one out.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion that we make the recommendation for Department 491 Cemetery as proposed by Town Administrator.
Down and second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Peter's and I. Board of Health.
So the board
Aye.
vote on this?
Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna vote on this.
Okay.
I do not have a signed Board of Health from the board itself.
Yeah, so I have on my sheet, it was submitted 2-1, but that would have been the office, the director of the board. of
Yes.
health. That's good, yeah. But I did read I keep going back to this. I read the letter that we got, and it said, if you have a board, the board had to vote on it and either signed, like you just mentioned, or the board could submit the minutes, and they needed paperwork, basically. So I have a problem recommending the budget when it was clear. We set our ground rules, and that's, I keep going back to what our ground rules are, so.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
We do have a conundrum there
I know.
because the one member of the board is not able to vote on the Board of Health budget. And
But it's not like it's still gonna make it to the warrant, and the finance committee can still recommend a line item. The finance committee can still recommend it.
yeah, because the recommendations technically do come or are based on the FinCom recommendations.
Okay, hearing no motion, the budget does not pass. Council on Aging. Pretty good at doing our budget.
Mm.
Your motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 541, Council on Aging, in the amount of $178,432.20.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Question?
I had a question on veteran services. So I asked for basically the turnbacks of departments for FY '23, just to help as a decision-making process. It looked, unless I'm reading this wrong, veteran services, it looks like they returned $54,000 last year.
Yeah, they did. So based on the chapter 115 census, 115, right? Yes. Yes, 115. They didn't have basically the reimbursement, the basically state reimbursement volume to draw against the entire, what was it, the entire, actually, in FY '23, I believe it was around like 70,000. That's why in FY '24, it was, the veterans benefit line was dropped down to 40,000 because of that turn back and because there wasn't really the veteran census who basically were claiming those benefits. Going into FY '25, we know based on claims that we have that basically those census cases have increased again, and based on current claims. And so that's why we are proposing that $20,000 increase because of those increased claims that we're seeing now and we're trending at in FY '24. Yes, in FY '24. Typically, we do have basically just like the health insurance budget, we have to carry some additional buffer because in case we get like a veteran who has a claim or moves in and we have to take on that claim.
Right.
And yeah, but
Thank you.
no problem.
One more question on that. You know how sometimes you have like it probably wouldn't be like a revolving fund, but for that buffer, so we don't have to raise the money every year. Like if we know we could have we never know who's gonna walk in the door, right?
Yeah.
And we want to make sure we have those services. Instead of having to raise and appropriate, is there a way, because we raised it this year or last year?
Yeah, I never heard of that, like kind of like an overlay or I never heard of that.
Okay.
It is in my experience something we need to fund every year. And then if we do have any turn back, it does close out into free cash.
Okay.
But especially with our veterans also, like there are other things that are more easier to take really the risk on there. But like with our veterans, we just.
No, I don't propose that. Thank you.
Motion for veteran services?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 543 Veteran Services in the amount of $122,510.81.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 549, ADA coordinator, which the stipend was moved to the town administrator's budget, so it's just supplies. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion to recommend Department 549 ADA Coordinator in the amount of $450.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
One thing on the discussion, if we move the stipend under town administrator, can we just move supplies too? Just make it cleaner?
That goes back to what I meant. So we're finally defining the separation between the Commission on Disability and the ADA. So 549 now will be the COD, and not the ADA.
Beautiful. That's all.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter's an aye. A library.
I'm trying to figure out why there's actually a
It
difference.
should be sewer. What happened? There's that out of place.
It's just at the very end, because they're an enterprise, so that's all just the general funds.
Oh, okay.
So in a way, is there a difference? Why is our overall, my overall recommendation about $3,000 higher?
Oh, that might be a typo in line.
Oh, yes, yes, yep, thank you.
Sorry about that.
I would actually recommend to take the departmental request there, and we save $3,000.
Beautiful.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 610 Library in the amount of $318,201.27.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Parks and Rec.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 630 Parks and Rec in the amount of $21,000.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Town Historian. Is there a motion on the floor?
That was originally 2,000. I know she wanted to do a.
Right.
Did she ever provide additional feedback?
I had an email, I thought it was in a couple of, earlier packets, I might have put it. She did go into depth. I know that she said that she had not reached out for sponsors. So I know that was one of the questions, to have sponsors to offset the booklets and things that she wanted to do. I think she did say that she would be good with it going online and not having as many copies. Sorry, oh, I think it's this file. Yes. So I printed out, there's a few paragraphs. Do you guys want to?
Well, that was basically the overview. Basically, that sounds good. So she's willing to put it online. She's gonna look at sponsors and she can always come back to the board and we have our own professional technical lines. You know, no, that's enough for me. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
fine.
that's fine.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 690 Town Historian in the amount of $250.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peas and I. Historical Commission. A motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 691 Historical Commission in the amount of $1,150.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Cable Committee. The motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 698 Cable Committee in the amount of $48,280.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, aye, sorry.
Peters and I. Debt Service, Department 710.
So these three were submitted late, so I'm gonna set these ones out.
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Department 710, maturing principal on long-term debt, as recommended by the town administrator.
Okay, I'll step down as chair and second that. There, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend Department 751, interest on long-term debt as recommended by the town administrator.
I'll step down as chair and second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend Department 752, interest on short-term debt as recommended by the town administrator.
Motion,
I like that one the best, that's a 0.
Yeah, it's kind of short term.
I was just, all these blend together.
I know,
Time Peter brought a ruler and I need to set. That was a good idea.
Department 820. Is there a motion on the floor?
Can I just make a recommendation?
Yeah,
So the state assessments, 820 and Department 830, the county assessments come off of the cherry sheet from DOR. So
okay,
if you don't mind your recommendation, just be as stated with the cherry sheet. Because the amounts have been changing, this is only the house budget is the point that we're at.
okay.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 820 state assessments and charges in line with the cherry sheet.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend line 830 county assessments and charges in line with the cherry sheet.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Employee benefits. And 11. Motion on the floor.
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend Department 911 retirement pension contributions as recommended by the town administrator. Why does it look like? Do you have recommendations on here?
So the retirement comes from Bristol County Retirement, and that is the cost if we do a one-time payment on July 1st, and that's the lowest cost it could be. So I
Okay,
automatically just filled it in across, we can't really lower it.
okay.
Sorry about that.
Motion made. I'll step down as chair in second. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Health insurance? Any motion?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 914 group health insurance in the amount of $1,370,348.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Group life insurance. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend 915 group life insurance in the amount of $2,000.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Employer contributions.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend line 916 employer contributions in the amount of $95,000.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter Karen's and I. Department 919. Motion on the floor.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 919 OPEB in the amount of $35,000.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter Karen's and I. Tuition. This is the last year, correct?
No,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It was something else.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend 920 tuition in the amount of $9,000.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Liability insurance.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 945 liability insurance in the amount of $251,608.
let's see.
Bless you.
Me, sorry. I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter Karen's and I. Sewer Enterprise Fund.
This would all be funded directly from sewer department revenues.
There a motion on the floor?
Was there any cuts in this?
Yes, there is about a $200 cut that relates to actually the stipends of the members. And like right at the beginning of the process, it was agreed that this year would not be a stipend year for elected and appointed members. So there is like a level, there is like a level stipend for the sewer commissioners. And that's the only difference between what was proposed and what was being recommended.
Oh, I missed that. Was that in the budget letter?
Yes.
All right, very good. Guess we all can miss things. I'd like to make a motion to recommend Department 600 Sewer Enterprise Fund in the amount of $392,230.17.
I'll second that.
Made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
There we have the budget. I can talk Yeah, like, and we can, in terms of how we really balance, like, I think having a broader discussion with the FinCom, on Thursday night, now that we have the expenses, really trued up with the BOS recommendation, then we can, get back to collaborating with the FinCom, just in terms of the revenues that, that we, that everyone agrees, will fund the expenses, so, with that, if we can turn our attention to the warrant, if that's okay? The list of the warrant articles, is have been updated by Ms. Brady. I really want to thank Karen for her work putting everything together. We have the very first draft iteration. I want to repeat, it's a draft iteration of the warrant, because we go through it, then we go through it again, then we go through it at least 5 more times, in the next few weeks. But it is based on the, proposed warrant articles that were outlined and reviewed, generally in terms of the list by the board last week. We do have a number of proposed capital requests. We met actually this afternoon with Capital LA Committee. We ranked, prioritized, and scored each of the requests that came forward, and also reviewed them as they related to prior year. Just as an example, the Main Street project that has already been ranked, scored, and prioritized by the Capital LA last year. So that information last year pulled forward into this year as well. So we did the scoring earlier this afternoon. We do, based on the scoring, based on the available funding, or frankly, the lack of available funding we have, we do, I will actually go back with the town accountants and we'll make recommendations based on what we heard, related to the selectmen, to the FinCom, about which articles we have the ability to fund and why. We're not at that place yet. But we are trying to balance really, what our departmental priority needs really are. And we do have a lot. We have an ongoing investment in Main Street that is not inexpensive. So we're trying to continue building up that, so we have the ability to complete that project. But yeah, those are the different type of things. And again, we should have probably by even Thursday night, some type of initial recommendations for the board and for the FinCom, just based on our ability to fund, which, as I mentioned earlier, is also going to be very, very largely informed by how we close the budget, the budget deficit as well. And that will also inform what amounts, if any, we also have the ability to put into stabilization or any other areas, because at this point, it's all coming from the same funding source. And that same funding source only has an ability to do a finite, a finite dollar amount, of things at this point. So we do, just as a starting point, with what we were already using free cash to fund in the operational budget, based on different issues being retirements, and other one-time things. We have, I want to say, about a free cash balance, once we back those operational budget costs out, we have a free cash balance of about $710,000. But as I just mentioned, that is how that's utilized also is going to be greatly informed with how we balance the operational budget. So that will also inform what type of capital we have the ability to fund, and recommend for funding going into the town meeting. Are there any questions on that, generally speaking, at this point?
Well, sorry.
Oh, go on, please.
Okay. Will the departments that are requesting like some of these bigger ticket items, will they present it to the board?
Yeah, we can ask them to. Yes.
That's all I have.
And, oh, yeah, like, and then we don't have to, we have, yeah, like, I mean, we, like, if the board, I like wanted to, like, if you like the board's, prerogative, we do have a little bit of time in terms of placing the warrant articles. We also have the meeting on May 8th as well. But we do have a few proposed bylaws, like as the board knows, relating to the police chief and the deputy police chief hiring process. We do, from the Commission on Disability, like an updated COD bylaw. We do from the town treasurer have an updated proposed bylaw, like relating to the payment of fees by applicants of, different land use projects that he's seeking to update as well. And if it's right with the board, I can make sure that anyone who has proposed an article has the ability to present that overview to the board at its next meeting, just so we have all the board has all that information as well.
Awesome.
And yeah, so, but yeah, that is really like the general list of, yeah, like of everything where we are. But again, I mean, like one thing in terms of the use of free cash is informing the other at this point. Do you have anything else you want to add on that, Serena?
So usually I like how you put bylaws at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in the past, citizens petitions have always been the last thing on the warrant.
Yes, that is, yeah, that's being proposed right now as Article 17, but it's really the board's prerogative where they want that.
Just to keep with the tradition, I feel like it works. Like this looks like it's laid out how we normally do it. Since I've been involved in town, I've always liked to put a bylaw on almost every town meeting. And I know they're usually right at the end, and citizens petitions are even after that. So I feel like it should be the last article. Other than that, I don't I think the rest of the listing is fine.
My only concern was the fact that it was such a controversial subject as opposed to everything else. And I don't know how much of the public is going to be there because of it, pro or against. And I thought having it closer to the beginning would assure that those people who came to vote had a chance to vote on it and not leave halfway through the meeting, because they do have a tendency to drag on, that I would be concerned that they would not be able to vote on the article, or they would not stay to vote on the article. Now, the flip side is, well, it could force them to stay.
Yeah, that's
the
what I
whole
was gonna
thing.
say. I'm hoping for retention.
And that would be ideal too, but it's up to you guys whether we move them to the end. I don't think there's any real rhyme or reason to how they're on there. Yes, sir.
I just want to point out, as moderator, we would have ability for motion for reconsidering. So I think Mr. Pacheco's suggestion is best. If you put it at the end, that means everybody can vote on it and they can leave, and they don't have to worry about voting on it early. And then later on,
Somebody voting
to reconsider after they've already left. It has been a huge point of contention in our town.
Sure. Okay, that's a good point. Okay, let's move it to the.
Yeah, but as I mentioned, this is a work in progress. Like, we'll have additional updates, but we just want to give everyone a first iteration where we are now. Any questions?
So you said we had how much free cash? 700 and something thousand?
Don't quote me on the exact numbers.
It's about 700,000.
700,000, and that's before, if it's, we go down this road, we pay for part of our deficit of
Yes.
cash.
Yes,
So then we have right around 500,000 if we did pay.
probably less. I would recommend, well, based on what there were some, there were some different recommendations that added the deficit back up, if you will, tonight, yeah, which is fine, but I would, but at this point, generally speaking, I like if, in terms of just a use of free cash, like I would recommend around 250. Just really to make sure we're balancing in a very stronger place than just breaking even. Sorry.
And things like excavators and dump trucks and those are the two big ones, Sanders. Do those things go through the capital outlay?
They do.
So there's a strategic plan in place and we know that, we knew it was coming, that we needed an excavator and.
A lot of this we're building as we go, based on the fact that we're coming from a place where we didn't have any plan at all. So we're still building that. And I actually, during the capital outlay committee meeting today, what actually Superintendent Ferry, to his great credit, brought up is we've grown in terms of how we're planning capital, but especially with highway, he has a ton of aging equipment and vehicles. And he did ask capital outlay to take really like a more involved and in-depth look to work with him to really begin charting out how we address his departmental needs, which I think is a great suggestion. The challenges we're doing that with highway equipment. We're also on a separate but parallel track. We're doing that with highway roads relating to the pavement management plan. We're really doing it with a number of other town departments too. And it's just trying to reconcile a very, very, very limited resources right now. That's gonna really, not to sound like an alarmist, but that's where everything, the reality is, I think, really gonna continue to hit.
Limited resources and these things take time to put together a
Agreed.
good plan.
Yep.
But the street program seems to work, right? The pavement management program.
Yes, it does. We haven't even begun because our focus has just been on Main Street right now. We haven't begun to even broaden out beyond Main Street. But yes, that is the hope and expectation.
I like it.
Do you want to do any of the, right?
I don't actually until we really have some consensus with the FinCom, I think it really would be premature. Serena, do you agree?
I know a gentleman here wants to discuss one of them. Oh, right, the two articles. So we're going to open up public input then, so this gentleman can about the two articles. We're going to enforce the 3-minute rule, and I know because you're here on behalf of the senior citizen, so if you'd like to ask for an extension of that 3-minute rule.
Extension, and can I have one for each?
Well, how much for an extension? Go ahead.
Although I do want to ask, is there going to be a review of Mr. Mullen's contract tonight?
Yes.
Scheduled?
Not his contract, a review of his.
Performance.
Right.
Would I be allowed to speak during that time frame?
Yes. Yes, well, we're going to have public input after, but
Okay.
yeah,
So during that time frame, I'd like to have some input.
sure.
I'd like to make a motion to open public input.
I'll second that.
Motion on the floor made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Bill Moore, 1935 Smith Street, acting on behalf of the Board of Assessors. I'd like to speak to, I'm sorry, I don't know the number, but the article concerning the senior tax exemption. As I discussed with you last time I was here, I did go back to the Board of Assessors and we discussed it and unanimously agreed that this would be a good thing for our town and therefore did some back of the napkin. We had Serena and Paul were there at the meeting talking about, what sort of budgetary impact, and our back of the napkin analysis is like in the $15,000 range. And I know things are really tight right now, and I know you're trying to whittle every penny away. But I'd like to state that, in these really hard times, our taxes are going through the roof, and there's certain percentage of our population that are hurting most. And this small amount of money will make a huge difference to those people that are really, really struggling. So I would like to recommend or request that the board recommend the article to reduce the senior tax exemption age from 70 to 65.
Thank you. Thanks for your hard work.
Thank you. On the second article, which I will take off my Board of Assessors hat, and speaking as a citizen and as the chairman of the Dayton RTC, I want to talk about the citizens petition for town administrator removal. And there are two things I want to say about it. Number one, I think it's important that we have to make a distinction between the person and the job. If there are people that are unhappy with Mr. Mullins' performance, this is not the place. This is not the way to do it. You know, whether he's good, bad, or indifferent. And I think overall he's a force for good, and I'd like to talk about that more during his review. But this isn't the answer. So I would request that you do not recommend this. Also, as RTC, it has been said that we are somehow behind this or have supported this. I would like to publicly state that Dayton RTC did not initiate this petition. We do not support this petition. We are actively against this petition. We believe that the town administrator position is vital to this community and will continue to support the existence of this petition. And I would hope that this board recommends the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good words. I appreciate that. That's refreshing. That's nice.
Well, it has been
Just
public.
in general, it's refreshing.
You know, it has been publicly, it's been publicly said. It's crazy. The whole idea is crazy, I think.
Just one quick question on the senior citizen. 35 this year?
So there was 39 the prior year.
Yep.
This year was 35. So it actually went down by 4 people.
Right.
So based on census data, that's where we come up with the 15,000 number. We believe that it should qualify about 15 more people.
Okay,
So we're hoping it's going to be around 50.
sure.
So 50,000 increase of 15.
Great, thank you. Nicole, did you have anything? I'm sorry.
What? No, no.
I thought the board used to have they used to say it about appointed officials, if you had comments to bring it to individually to Mr. Mullen, I believe, but if it's about, that was positive, but not that, but his review. His review, he's an appointed official, or the selectmen. I really appreciate citizen feedback, but would it be best that good or bad, like they go through us, or they go through human resources? I don't really know. I know we used to have that.
Well, the
saying.
policy is if you have a concern about another town official, then you would take it to the town administrator.
Right,
In this particular case, you'd have to take it to the selectmen.
right. Okay, that's fine. I just had to think it through,
Yeah, like, but, oh, yeah, like, but, oh, yeah, like, I mean, like, with all due respect, like, I do, just because, our public evaluations are between the employee and the board. And I wouldn't, oh, yeah, like, and because it is like a serious process, I mean, like, I would, oh, yeah, like whether it is me or any other employee, just try to really strictly adhere to that. Like I think opening up, like if it's opening up with another comment from one person here, and then the next evaluation that happens in town, oh, yeah, like any board has actually 2 or 3 comments. I do think what should be a rigorous process between a board and its employee, it could have the ability to snowball. And I think, I want to paraphrase for you, Selectman Pacheco. Oh, yeah, but like, it sounds like you might have that concern. Okay.
So you're recommending no public input on the evaluation? Even though it's done in public?
Public input other than by the board.
Okay. Do you feel about that?
Yeah, like just, I mean, yeah, like with the audience here, like, oh yeah, like, I mean, like it could work great, but like then like in like another situation for another employee. Yeah, like, I mean, if we created, like, I wouldn't just want to have a slippery slope. That's all I'm thinking of and trying to anticipate.
Would said that in the past. I think that's consistent with what we've done in the past.
Yeah.
Before my time.
I'm fine with that.
Did you have your hand
Well,
up?
the only comment I would have is what I think you said, is that, you know, if I have criticisms of Mr. Mullen, where do I bring them?
I think you bring it to us.
I'm not saying I do, I'm
Right.
just saying, if I did, where do I bring them?
Well, during public input, you would have the right to,
But not during his review.
not during his review.
Okay, so may I reclaim my time for public input?
Sure.
You guys okay with
Mr.
that?
Chairman,
Okay.
I respect that.
You're back.
Yeah.
No, the thing is, I know that this is critical because Mr. Mullins is being reviewed tonight. And I think there's some bad perceptions out there. I think Mr. Mullins is not perfect. He has made some serious mistakes, and I hope that you address them this evening. But in addition to anybody's human, he's made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. If I look at the good that he has done, the man works tirelessly. He's here all the time. I'll bet when he and I go to the voting booth, we probably don't push the same levers, but yet every time I have a need of him, he's right there for me. He answers my phone calls. He sits down, he takes time with me. He makes sure he's doing everything he can. I think he has the best interests of this town at heart. And I think that he's been doing a wonderful job. And I think there's a perception out there of some people, probably on my side of the aisle, that think that he's wasting money or he costs the town too much money or whatever. But I think he needs to do a better job of advertising the grants he's brought in, the money he's brought in, and how much savings he's brought to the town. So overall, you know, like I said, not perfect. I'm not saying I'll be the first person to line up and say the problems that he has, but I think the good that he has done for this town far outweigh the bad that he has. And I would recommend that you guys give him a review commensurately. You know what I mean?
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Hall.
I would echo what Mr. Moore has said. To the millions, I'll repeat, millions of dollars that Mr. Mullen has brought in for this town in grants. Greatest example is his work with Jake Oceanclaws, bringing $2.75 million in to the bridge at Muddy Cove. His vast experience in state, county, and local government, his connections and ties with people at the State House is very, very valuable. His work that he did behind the scenes, and I know both of them would get up at this podium and say the same, Pat Haddad and Senator Mark Pacheco, in helping to provide funding from the state level to make the library a reality at no impact on local tax budget is significant. Things that we don't see on a day-to-day basis because of his ties and his experience have been immeasurable in bringing success to government in very difficult times.
Thank you. To discuss and act town administrator's evaluation.
Yeah, I gave you.
Oh, you did?
So if you don't mind, I'll take over. So in this aggregate document, I've consolidated all the comments of the board members, which include Chairman Karen, Selectman Mello, and Leonard Hull as a member of the board during the time frame encompassed by the evaluation. The rating scale included exceeded, achieved, ongoing, needs improvement, or not applicable. And if the board doesn't mind, I'll read the overall rating and then some of the comments,
Sure.
consolidated comments made. In the area of leadership and staff effectiveness, there was an overall rating of exceeded. And the comments, Mr. Mullen received an exceeded or achieved in the areas of establishing sense of direction, effectively delegating and gaining trust and respect of employees. And comments included that Mr. Mullen has shown excellent leadership in managing projects and foresight and strategic planning capabilities. One member scored ongoing in the areas of motivating employees and keeping staff apprised of their strengths and/or weaknesses. With that comment reflecting that Mr. Mullen does motivate staff with verbal feedback and gatherings, but there was still some weakness in performance reviews. Another member suggested that better lines of communication were needed with the Board of Health and the Conservation Commission. Number 2, planning and organizing. There was an overall rating of exceeded. And the board members felt that Mr. Mullen exceeded and/or achieved in all areas of planning and organizing and setting priorities, but also recognized that new problems seem to take over too often. The same member said that Mr. Mullen does a great job in anticipating problems and often has a number of solutions before coming to the Board of Selectmen. Comments here also included planning for future needs of the town is definitely one of Mr. Mullen's strengths. Number 3, communications and community relations. The overall rating was achieved in this area. And the comments included, the ratings almost entirely reflected excellence or achieved in this category, with one rating of ongoing with regard to keeping the town informed on issues, needs, and operations. Comments reflected that Mr. Mullen never fails to keep the selectmen informed and excels at maintaining open lines of communication with all team members, which fosters a positive work environment. One member felt that it was tough to keep residents informed, but Mr. Mullen does a good job with the means at his disposal. One member also indicated that Mr. Mullen is always seeking the best ideas and has a unique ability to elicit cooperation from others. It was also mentioned that Mr. Mullen is an excellent communicator who is amazing at staying calm under fire and has a great ability to put everyone at ease. Excellent writing skills were mentioned as another one of Mr. Mullen's strengths, while one member felt that Mr. Mullen has a tendency to overwrite to get to the point. Number 4, problem solving, innovation, and decision-making had an overall exceeded rating. Mr. Mullen excelled or achieved in all areas of problem solving, innovation, and decision-making skills. Being able to successfully work in a fast-paced professional environment was noted as a strength for Mr. Mullen. It was also mentioned that Mr. Mullen always gives multiple choices to the board in order to solve problems and always seeks advice when making decisions. Number 5, budget and financial management had an overall exceeded rating. The board felt that Mr. Mullen exceeded in the area of a budget and financial management, is excellent at managing the town's finances. And one member mentioned that Mr. Mullen is really outstanding in every aspect of this category. Another member indicated that Mr. Mullen has shown strong communication and transparency in the budget process and has ensured that all stakeholders are engaged. One comment also pointed out that Mike has developed a very successful budget management team that works very well together. Number 6, customer service and service quality had an overall rating of achieved. In this category, Mr. Mullen received exceeded or achieved ratings by all board members, with one comment stating that Mr. Mullen has excellent customer service skills and demands the same from all employees. There has never been a complaint at town hall due to lack of service. Number 7, personal, professional, and organizational integrity was a tie with exceeded and achieved. Mr. Mullen received exceeded or achieved in all areas of personal, professional, and organizational integrity, with one comment indicating that Mr. Mullen has the utmost integrity of anyone I know and that he was honest. One member also commented that Mr. Mullen brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to the town that helps him make sound professional decisions. Number 8, cross-department organizational management received exceeded in all areas. Mr. Mullen received exceeded ratings in this category, and one member commented that his working relationships with other town managers is another of his strong assets. Mr. Mullen is constantly trying to get departments to cross-work and has bi-monthly meetings with department heads to ensure everyone is aware of other department happenings. Planning, leadership, and project objectives.
Those will be goals.
So
that we
these
can-
are goals, and currently there's 11 of them, if you'd like me to read them. Asking that we come back to these after budget and determine which ones are most important. And then overall, the board was pleased with the work that town administrator has done for the town, with one member stating that it was the best decision the town has made to hire Mr. Mullen, and another stating that he is one of our most dependable members. Mr. Mullen accepts constructive criticism, consistently works to improve and grow from each situation, including difficult circumstances like the police chief hiring process. He is willing to get involved no matter how much work there is. His positive attitude helps others keep motivation high and encourages others. He has excellent knowledge of the town bylaws. Yeah.
I have to echo Moore's comments because I think he nailed it to a T. I don't think we could ask for a better for our town. And that shows when we go to those functions, when the amount of people that come up and say, oh, you guys don't know how good of a decision you made hiring you. Like I said, to eat myself, but Mr. Moore said it better than I can. My biggest concern is the one big mistake that we made, which was the police chief. Not that I want to hop on something that's bad because you've done so much good, but it costs us a lot of hard feelings. And it certainly caused the opinions of the town to change. And that's probably why we have this recall on the warrant. It certainly isn't, again, Mr. Moore said it, I think they confused the man with the position, because 2 days after the police chief debacle, there was a warrant article petition or citizens petition to eliminate the moderator. And personally, and I can't speak for them, I think they were going after you. Which in itself is a shame because of the great work that you do. But we have to own our mistakes, and I know you do. But the one criticism is we let that one drop. We let it get away from us. And that we can't let something like that happen again. There's nothing to do to change that. It can't be undone, and nothing you can do in the future will prevent it from happening again. But I just have to say it. I think you do a great job. Couldn't ask for anyone better. I'd be disappointed if you left us more than I would be if for any other reason. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just want to add, if it's okay, a personal story. It's as me as the town nurse, so it's not so much as me as selectman, but it still speaks to Mike as a person. When I came on as the public health nurse, this was not my specialty. I knew nothing about being a public health nurse. I knew nothing about local government. And Mike took me right under his wing. Mike helped me with my first flu clinic. That wasn't something he needed to do. He didn't need to come on a Saturday and sit with me for hours while 12 people showed up for a flu shot. As well as he got me in touch with the Massachusetts Association of Public Health Nurses. And thanks to him getting me in touch with them, come in 2 weeks, I'm going to be the president of that association. So these are leadership skills that he went outside his silo as town administrator and came into the health department. He led me as a leader, and I can't even tell you how grateful I am. So thank you.
Nice. I know you weren't here for a month, but you have opinions, and if you'd like to share them with us, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too.
I will echo both everyone's points in the room. We're so lucky to have you as a town administrator. I think you're doing a fantastic job. I think you bring the town together and you have excellent vision for our town, and you can see towards the future. You're an excellent planner. Some of the points in here, how good you are with, our budget and our fiscal position, and we're so lucky to have you. You're a true public servant. You say it's a lifestyle, and you certainly live it. But I didn't want to say too much because I felt this evaluation was before my time. And
Sure. That's
I
understandable.
respect what you guys say. I'll vote, but I think you guys should make your motion.
Okay. Is there a motion on the floor to accept his review as written?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the town of Dayton's performance evaluation for the town administrator as written.
I'll step down as chairman and second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter Karen's an aye. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. No, thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Any more public input?
I have something.
Yes.
So I had the opportunity to visit the fire station today and talk with our fire chief and some of the guys, our hardworking personnel over at the fire station. And I just noticed, talk about we all make mistakes. As a board, I feel like it's an oversight that we left. That we did a proclamation at our last meeting and we just left the fire department. I don't think they got an invite. And they perform life-saving measures, and luckily that neighbor of ours is alive and can testify to that. And I just thought it would be nice.
The
Just
fire
acknowledging it.
chief intentionally did that. He wants them to have their own. So he purposely did not put them on
Oh,
with the police department.
okay.
I'm sorry, you didn't know that.
I didn't.
Yeah,
No, I
No, I
apologize to the
questioned
fire
about that.
station.
But they did a tremendous job.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to acknowledge they weren't here, but
Yeah.
that was on purpose. So
Yeah,
I think the selectmen got some slack for not inviting them. And,
yeah,
so,
probably,
Yeah,
because.
I guess it's good to say that then. Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad I'm glad you brought it up and I'm glad it's out there. I didn't realize, but yes, it will be, I'm not gonna say it's gonna be corrected because there's nothing wrong.
Okay.
It was just established by the chief.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And, all right, case closed. Thank you.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Made a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you all.